right, we're live. We're live on Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. And while we're waiting for everybody to stream in, this is Kristina Wong. She's a national security reporter. She's very well known here in Washington, D.C. And she's at Breitbart, and she's been at a few different places, right? All right, we've got people streaming in.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. This is the very first live stream I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad it's with you.
It's a huge honor since it's Veterans Day, and also Kristina is a really busy person. I'm not just saying that, like she actually is a really busy person, and she stayed up for us to do this live stream. And she's going to talk to us about something really personal, so it's really cool. So Christine's dad was in the Air Force.
Yes. So my dad served in the Air Force. He was in for, I think, like 4 or 5 years. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. And, you know, I actually haven't talked to my dad a lot about his time in Vietnam or his service, because I think it was just something I was hesitant to ask about for so long. I don't know, it just kind of feels weird, like to sit at the kitchen table and be like, so Dad, what'd you do in Vietnam? And then part of me didn't want to know, like, what if it was just really lame or something, you know, what if he didn't do anything, and then I would be disappointed, and then I'd have to pretend I was impressed. And so there were all these, you know, things preventing me from asking him about it.
It's such an interesting, like, way to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that, I mean, his service in Vietnam and in the Air Force was something that we always knew about. I mean, he watched a lot of war movies, and, you know, my mom would say things like, oh, look, your dad's tearing up, and, you know, things like that, but we never actually talked about it. And then my little sister got married in Thailand last year, and so it was my dad's dream to go back to Vietnam. So he had been there around the 1968 time frame, and so that is 50 years ago. And so last December we went to Thailand, and then we went to you know, around the area.
Was that your first time?
It was in Vietnam. It was my first time in Thailand and Southeast Asia and Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
It was not really a place that I ever was really excited about going to. So it was a good excuse, you know, little sister getting married.
Yeah.
So after they sort of split off on their honeymoon, my mom, dad, and I went on a vacation, and I haven't, you know, vacationed with them for a really long time. So that was weird because, you know, I was like a kid all over again, and I had to sort of, you know, interact with my parents like as you know, in a different way.
Yeah. And,
you know, they were fighting and just it was stressful and it was hot. But I really, really wanted to be there because, you know, I knew it would be a really special moment for my dad to be back in Vietnam after 50 years.
Yeah, and how is he when he was there? Did he look like a little traumatized, or?
Well, we landed in this Tan Son Nhut airport, so that was where he was sort of based as a security force. So he was Air Force security force, and that's like a police officer, and he was guarding the armory on the base there. And so we flew into the base that he served at, and it was just an airport. And it was like your modern day airport.
And anyone could have flown in there?
And anyone can fly in there.
Wow,
it's
cool.
Like a private airport now, I think, a commercial airport. And so we were on, you know, and I kept looking at my dad for signs, or just to see what he was feeling. And I didn't really see anything. And he was just, I mean, I didn't really see any emotion. And we were on, you know, those like, those little buses to get from the airport to, you know, or the terminal to get our baggage, and I was taking a picture of him, and I just couldn't tell what he was thinking, and I wanted it to be like this special moment, but he really wasn't reacting to much. And I mean, it just looked like your normal Southeast Asian city. There were motorcycles everywhere, and, you know, buildings and stores, and stuff. So at first it was a little disappointing.
Really?
Yeah, and the next day at breakfast, he said, "I don't recognize anything." He said, "I know." It was actually kind of sad. He said, "This looks nothing like what I remember." And then, so that day, we went to later that day. We went to, I think, go visit. I think first we went. So we were just kind of sightseeing. We went to a war museum, and that was really cool. It was interesting because it was in Vietnam's perspective. The North Vietnamese, obviously, they won. So, I mean, it was kind of like these terrible Americans, like it was a 3-story museum, and the second story was, told from the Vietnamese side. So it was pretty negative towards America, and I'm like, what the heck is this? How does my dad feel about this? But then the third story was kind of told from the American perspective, so that was a little bit better. And I mean, there were lots of really cool things to see. There were tanks outside, aircraft, photos, and so it was a pretty cool museum. And then we went to this old cathedral that he remembered from when he was serving there. So this beautiful cathedral was still preserved, and it was under construction, so we couldn't go in. But it was something that he recognized, and so that was cool. We took pictures in front of it, and then there was also a post office that he remembered.
Nice.
And so then we went to, I think, a presidential palace, and the more places we went to that he remembered, I could see that he started, I think he started feeling a lot less disoriented, I guess you would say, started feeling a little bit more comfortable, and
he was talking about it more.
I think at first he was just sort of disappointed and sad, and then I think he started perking up when he saw the cathedral and the post office. And I found a picture that he took from 1968 of the cathedral, and then I took that same photo that he took, and that was kind of cool to put them side by side. And juxtapose them.
Nice.
So I don't want to ramble on and on.
No, you can. This is
I hope we're not
this is
losing
about your
people.
dad. No, this is about your dad. This is cool. What was he doing in the Air Force?
So he was he was guarding an armory, and on Tan Son Nhut. And what was cool? So I think on the last day that we were there, he
is Tan Son Nhut in which part of Vietnam?
So South Vietnam.
It's South. Okay, cool.
And now it's Ho Chi Minh City. So it used to be Saigon, and then when the North took over, it became Ho Chi Minh City. So that was probably kind of weird for him too. But he didn't seem angry. You would think, okay, the Americans, lost the war. Is it weird for him to be back? I think he was just happy to be back, just to be there. And so the last day we were there, he wanted to see, he wanted to visit this, he had a kung fu teacher, or he knew this kung fu master or whatever that he met there when he was young. So he was, I guess, probably in his 20s or so when he was there. And so we went back to, so in Chinese it would be a sifu. So we went to, it means teacher or master. So we went to where his kung fu studio was, and it's now it now belongs to his son, and his son is a doctor, kind of like a chiropractor, acupuncturist kind of person. And so my dad remembers the son and his brother when they were little kids. So the Sifu is I think he's dead, but his sons were there, and we went back into this I don't know what you would call it, where they used to practice, and so he was just kind of looking around and just taking pictures and taking it all in, and probably just reminiscing, and I think what was emotional for my dad was seeing the little brother, because I think he had talked with the older brother, or the older brother had come to California to see, my dad had met up with him once, but I think seeing the little brother was like really emotional for my dad,
Yeah.
and they, the little brother held out his hand and my dad just like held on to it, and so for me that was, it was kind of emotional, because maybe more so than for I don't know, my dad didn't cry, he didn't tear up or anything, but it was kind of nice to just, I don't know, watch him connect with that part of his past.
Yeah.
So.
Because it didn't come out a lot. It didn't.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Aww. No, it looks like I could tell it like something you must have connected to a lot, because this is like you're kind of continuing it too with your career. I mean, this is what you're reporting about all the time.
Yeah, I think so in a weird way. I'm not sure how he influenced me to become a defense reporter, but I think it just I'm happy that we have that connection.
Yeah.
And I think so that night after he saw his old buddies, we were back in the hotel room, and everyone was just calm. My mom, she'd been kind of freaking out the whole trip because I think she didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think my dad didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. But so that night we're just chilling in the hotel room, eating banh mi sandwiches, and
Yum.
and Vietnamese banh mi is pretty good. It's different than the banh mi here. It's got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of different meats that I feel like don't belong together, but it was still pretty good. Anyway, so then my dad opened up and he started telling me stories of when he was serving there. And I know I'm gonna butcher, and I don't really remember, but I started recording him secretly because I just wanted to make sure that I remembered that story that he was going to tell me, or everything he was going to tell me. And so he said that one night, I think this might have been during the Tet Offensive, his base got shelled with rockets coming in, and he and this other guy jumped in a ATV or a little like golf cart, and they just went around the base trying to alert everyone and wake them up, and he said the shells were coming down, and I mean there's more, but I don't remember, but I thought, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, he must have saved a lot of people. So it's like, it's what are shell like? They're like missiles?
Like little rockets.
Oh my god.
Little tiny like mortars coming down. And forgive me if I'm like completely confusing it, but I this was last year and I haven't actually listened to the recording, but it was pretty cool, and he talked about like how it was they were coming down around him, but they just knew they had to do what they needed to do and alert everyone around the perimeter, and so that was neat. And he also said that they tried to recruit them to go down into the sewers and look for bombs, which my dad did not do.
Gosh. Yeah, that was gross.
Because he was, smaller or something, and so, but he didn't do that. But he did, he worked with the Nung, which is like the Vietnamese Chinese, from what I understand.
Okay.
And
so he could communicate with them.
He could speak Chinese, yeah.
Okay.
So I think he was pretty useful. And of course, I'm sure there's more to his experience, but we just haven't, talked about it since December. And now it's almost December, but it's hard. It's hard to just sit down, at least for me. I don't know about you, but just
to get him to talk about.
Yeah. Something that's personal.
Yeah.
I guess.
Do you think he'll go back? Do you think he'll go back?
I don't think he'll go back. I mean, unless there's another reason.
Yeah.
like someone else gets married there. I don't know. Maybe he and my mom will take another trip back there. But so after Ho Chi Minh City, I came back to DC because I had taken like 2.5, 3 weeks off of work, and it was a little too long. So they went on to Hanoi, and I think they both got really sick. So I don't like food poisoning and a fever and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think I don't think they left with happy memories. So I think this might have been just like a once in a lifetime thing for them. So I hope I haven't just rambled on and bored everyone.
No. This is like really interesting to me because like I don't know. I don't really like. I always try to get information from my dad about like when he's younger, but I feel like it's hard. It's hard to get dads to talk about stuff, and if you can, like it's pretty. Like, does he talk about his like most traumatic times? About like, I mean, because I'm sure he's had times where he thought that things were over, maybe like.
Oh, my dad is definitely a storybook. So after he came home from Vietnam, he joined the police department, the Oakland Police Department, and he's seen a lot of stuff. I remember we were driving one day, my dad goes, "Hey, look at that house over there. Yeah, that was my first drug bust." And I'm like, "Whoa." And yeah, so he's seen a lot. He's seen a lot.
And
but
like Oakland is just crazy. I mean,
yeah, and especially back
like
in.
I heard it's like a really high crime.
Yeah.
Area also.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there and I was
in
like a nice part, but also we were told that there was a lot of crime and that's it.
Yeah, I mean it was there's I think still a lot of crime.
Yeah.
But it was pretty bad. I think he was probably serving in the 80s, probably 70s, 80s. So I think things were bad. So he's seen so much bad stuff that I don't know. I mean, I've seen like a few pictures. He's alluded to certain things, but I don't think I know even. I don't even think I've scratched the surface of what he's experienced in life, which is actually kind of sad. Yeah. So.
Do you think he might be like desensitized? Like maybe that's why he doesn't, because like to him it's just all. I mean, it's like, it's just normal. Like, why would it be a story? In his mind, it's like, oh, well, people die. I mean, that's things that happen.
I think he just doesn't talk about these kinds of things. I don't know. I think it's, I've always heard you never ask a vet, oh, did you kill someone? Because that's, offensive. Whether they did or didn't. I mean, it's just kind of like this sort of a really difficult question and kind of a stupid question. And so, so I just don't think he's used to talking about this kind of stuff, especially with his daughter,
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of friends that he will talk for hours to, and also I think the fact that, it's like the father-daughter kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what can I talk to my daughter about?
Yeah.
I think dads want to shield their daughters from stuff, and so I think it's kind of hard to open up about the terrible things that they saw, and...
Yeah, because you're always going to be like a, like innocent little girl.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
Small.
But I want him to, start, like, writing these things down, because I don't think he has, like, any kind of outlet. I don't think he talks... He might talk to my mom about this. I don't know. I don't know if they do or not, but, I mean... I haven't seen it. I know they're close, but... Is your mom
Chinese?
Yeah, so my mom's
Okay.
Chinese from China, and then my dad was born in San Francisco, and his mom was half Chinese.
Oh, interesting. And like, did he... Okay. I forgot what I was gonna say. But does he have like siblings and stuff also who did like? Who served?
No, his little brother was a fashion designer.
Really?
And he used to design clothes for like Tina Turner and other people, other kind of. He was a very eccentric fashion designer, and yeah, he actually was friends with Salvador Dali, which was pretty crazy.
Really?
So there's pictures of him on the internet. If I Google his name and Salvador Dali,
so cool.
yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They just have kind of like a unique background, I guess.
Do you think you might write about your dad? Like, do you think you might write a book, like an I don't know, like a biography or something?
I would love to. You know, I guess either of my parents, because my mom grew up, I guess, during like a war in communist China. She's got her own crazy story, but I think.
Oh, can you tell me like what?
Yeah.
What was it?
So when my mom was young, that's when the communist Chinese were taking over, and so my mom's parents and older siblings, they were going back and forth from China and Hong Kong, mainland China and Hong Kong, and they just stayed in Hong Kong, and they left my mom in China because my grandma wanted a grandchild. So my mom actually stayed in communist China for several years, I think until she was like 4 or 5, enough for her to sort of remember what it was like. It wasn't, I don't think it was completely sealed off, but she remembers the early indoctrination efforts, you know, like the Red Book and sort of like every day kids would have to recite, like, you don't need your father, you don't need your mother, you just need Chairman Mao. And
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was like that creepy. I mean, I know obviously it's, you know, communist China, but like that's like really like weird.
Yeah. And then so when things started to get kind of bad with the communists sort of taking, you know, really sort of consolidating, they said, well, we better get my mom out of there. So she actually left, like in the middle of the night in a boat. I hear her, and when she was like around 5, they like put her in a boat and they just sent her over to Hong Kong, and then she grew up in Hong Kong.
She was a kid when they did that, and so like she could have like gotten kidnapped.
Yeah, so they were like, be quiet, don't cry, just be quiet, and so I wouldn't say they smuggled her across because, you know, her parents were there, and I don't think it was completely sealed off, but I don't know what would have happened if they found her. And she never saw her grandparents ever again. Aww. They starved to death in you know, communist China.
That's so sad.
This.
And if she had stayed, that would have happened to her too.
Yeah, I mean, if she had stayed, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I literally wouldn't be here in the U.S.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
that's insane.
Yeah.
What does she think about what's happening now in China?
So I'm pretty sure she will not go back to mainland China. I think she's still terrified from just what she hears and what she knows about communist China. So the closest she will get is Hong Kong. And that's kind of sad. I mean, I've been to China twice a long time ago, like 2006, 2007, just for fun because I was curious. But I don't know if my mom will ever go, and if she ever wants to go, you know. I think she's just, I think she's okay. I don't think she wants to go back and visit a place that's like really kind of traumatic, I guess, for her. And so she and my aunts will go to Hong Kong.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure she's not a fan of communist China.
And
I haven't actually I haven't actually talked to her about what's going on in Hong Kong, but I'm sure she supports it 100%. And,
what does she think about what you're doing?
She loves what I'm doing. She loves that I don't know, I have a really interesting and great job.
It is really cool.
And she...
I mean, like, we mentioned it in the beginning, but in case you guys didn't... In case you weren't here in the beginning, Kristina is a national security reporter on the Hill. She's in DC. She's at Breitbart. She is very well connected with everybody.
Thank you.
She knows everything. So if you have any questions, like, now's your time. You know, if you want any secrets, Kristina's here. We can get it out of her. And how long have you been doing this?
Oh, a long time. So I guess, God, my first internship was like sometime in like the early 2000s. So, but anyway,
Nice.
so my first I started covering defense in 2009.
Oh wow! So it's been like a
10,
decade at least.
Yeah. So I was at ABC News, and then I went to the Washington Times, and then I went to the Hill, and now I'm at Breitbart. So it's kind of like I've done TV, I've done print, I've done online, and all
And
the
this
different
is her
mediums.
first live stream she's giving to me, to us. This thing.
You are too kind.
What's your favorite story that you broke?
Let's see. My favorite. There's been several, but I guess the most recent favorite story that I've broken has to do with it's a little bit complicated, but has to do with the Green Berets.
Okay.
Basically, they had this 2-star general. This was, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but there's a schoolhouse for Green Berets, and the commander there was trying to increase the number of Green Berets because the country needs more, because there's all these things breaking out all over the place, conflicts, and they just need more Green Berets. So he was sort of changing the standards and tweaking the pipeline to graduate and get Green Berets through. Yeah. And a lot of Green Berets were really upset about that. Yeah. And so so they wrote this letter, and I didn't break the letter actually. SOFREP, a website by Special Operations Forces, they broke it, but I followed up because no one else did. So after SOFREP published this letter from the Green Berets sort of complaining about, all the lowering standards and all this other stuff that they were really upset about, because one of the Special Operations Forces truth is you can't mass produce Special Operations Forces. You can't mass produce Green Berets. So they were really upset. They thought this general was just sort of tweaking things and trying to get lower quality folks through. So anyway, after they write this night letter, the news kind of goes viral, and then there's silence, right?
Yeah.
And no one wants to touch it because I'm not sure why. So I started poking around, and
do you have like an idea maybe why? I don't know.
I think it's hard to go up against authority. I think it's hard to go up against a 2-star general.
Okay.
And they also might have like a whole establishment, behind them. Okay. So it's hard to do that, especially if it's just given some, enlisted folks. You know what I mean? So there's like a huge power imbalance, and it's really hard to take I think someone's side against a very powerful general that's very connected in his city and in the army and things like that. And it was actually kind of scary for me to pursue it, but to pursue the story of, okay, is this, what's actually going on here, and so
that this general,
how, is he lowering the standards? How is this going to affect the Green Berets? And he actually was retired because of it.
Really? Because of your story?
Because of my stories. I don't take joy in getting someone fired, but essentially through the Green Berets I talked to, they all had stories about him, and not everyone agrees with me with this view of this general. I mean, this general also has friends that pushed back, and they're saying, this changing of the standards has to be done.
So wait, so can you repeat, like, what kind of standards was he changing?
Okay, so for instance, you have something like navigation. So basically being able to find trying to navigate terrain and get to a point using a compass, versus like some other, newer device, like GPS. So in the standards, this is kind of a complicated story because the standards have changed over decades. So it's not like this one general came in and he wanted to change everything. It's just that, the certain changes he made really upset the guys who were at the schoolhouse at that time. And so, for instance, it's making that like land navigation test no longer a pass or fail, making it an exercise.
Okay.
So it's like, would we graduate Green Berets who don't know how to navigate, with a compass anymore? Kind of things like that.
Okay.
So hope this isn't too in the weeds. But
no, it's not. No, it's like I'm learning. And so, like, the worry is, like, if you expose too much or lose trust with certain people who are there, you might not be able to, you might lose sources also.
Yes. And and so, I mean, there's always two sides to the story.
Yeah.
So, you have to be really careful.
Yeah, and you have to be really brave. That's really cool. Like,
and some people would just say, I wrote like 3 or 4 stories about this, and along the way, people were like, "You're wrong. People are lying to you. This is just these, disgruntled Green Berets. It's just, these troublemakers, but I don't think the Army is going to retire someone if it's just,
right,
a couple dudes making up stuff because they're, butt hurt about something, which is what I think they try to make it, what the other side tried to make it about. But this was a really hard, very sensitive story, and it gets people really riled up. So it was. I learned a lot actually in doing it, and I have the heat turned up really high.
Okay. Oh, no,
I don't know
worries.
if I'm like if you're really warm in here.
No worries. I'm just okay. So I'm just gonna look really quickly and see if anyone has questions.
Someone says stop saying like.
So,
it is
our viewers know something that's really funny about our viewers, which I actually really like, but sometimes it's really funny. I can't say that.
No more likes.
They're like, I feel like my viewers, and I thought this was like normal for everybody, but whenever I bring someone on the live stream, they always mention it, and I realize that it's actually something really unique with my viewers, is that they will point out like every single flaw. Which is hilarious. Like every single thing that, like, you might be insecure about. Which is like, it's actually for Nate says, has Kristina tried to get info from the Air Force about Area 51?
Oh my god. No. I have not yet. I can try.
So we had someone who's asking, what did I miss? Kristina talked about her dad's time in the Air Force, her mom's time in communist China, which was also really cool, and her work in in defense reporting, which is really cool. And like, what do you see yourself do in the future with that?
I definitely want to write a book. So, like everyone else. I mean, that's not unique.
Yeah, but like, every book is unique.
That's true.
It's your story.
So I would, I'd love to write a book about my parents' experience, and I do have an idea, which I will not disclose, not to you, but to all the viewers out there.
Okay, so I might know, but I won't tell you.
But it's something I've wanted to work on for a while, telling a story, telling a deeper story about something that happened during the Iraq War. So I think that would be cool, but you need time. You need time to write.
Have you ever talked to Dan Gabriel?
I have, but not in depth about
that kind of stuff.
About writing a book or anything.
Oh, but the Iraq
or shooting
War.
a documentary. Oh yeah, he would know a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, I mean, you know, that'd be cool if you ever wanted to shoot a documentary. Dan's, I mean, okay, it looks like something's already in the works. Yeah, in case you guys haven't watched it yet, Dan's written, his most recent one is Mosul, and it's about the fall of ISIS in Mosul in Iraq, and that one was really good. And you know, it's on Amazon Prime. You can go check it out. And also, someone else asked about ABC. Did ABC spike any interesting stories while you were there?
I would say no. I mean, I don't. I mean, I was there. I left in 2011. I just can speak to my personal experience, which was I was obsessed with the war in Afghanistan.
Okay. And
they were kind of like, you know, like, but oh god, I said like again, but so I was one of those annoying people that kept pitching stories about Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
I think defense and foreign affairs reporters sometimes get stuck on something when they get really into something, and I was obsessed. I was obsessed about Afghanistan. Yeah. So I think it was more okay, Kristina.
Yeah.
Pitch something else.
Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can write about that in the future. Maybe in your own personal thing. Yeah. So all right. So I want, you know, if anyone has any more questions, you get it in like in the last minute. But we're gonna wrap this up. And thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate this. Like, you coming on. Hopefully we can get Kristina back when she's writing her book and she can come and tell us more secrets.
Someone asked if I speak Pashto. No, but I went to Afghanistan and I know Tashakkur. I think cool. That means thank you. And Assalamu alaikum, but who doesn't know that, right? That's probably the same in Farsi? Or,
no, that's
Tashakkur?
Arabic, but Tashakkur is in Farsi, Yeah, you know, Afghani, I mean, Farsi, it's like, I could communicate with, you know, I used to think it's like a different language, and now, because there's so many Afghanis here, and it's like the same language, I can communicate with them, it's just like talking to somebody with a different accent.
That's awesome.
And they just talk really weird. That's like talking to someone Scottish.
Huh.
It's like just like a really weird way of saying everything. But anyway, there's someone saying there's 3 questions here. Okay. If Kristina went to China, would they imprison her as a spy?
They probably would now, honestly, because of all my... Well, okay, I shouldn't say honestly, but I have been... you know, my reporting is not the most positive on China right now. So they would probably monitor me. I think when I went there in 2006 and 2007, they were monitoring me then. So I think they would be monitoring me even more so now.
Yeah.
So I don't know about it in prison, but...
They banned PewDiePie. You know PewDiePie?
China did?
Yeah.
Really? I did not know that.
Oh wait,
Yikes.
was it China or Japan actually?
Yikes.
No, I think it was... I don't know.
And also, I report a lot on the Taiwanese, so, you know, there's a little bit of friction there between mainland China and Taiwan. So, I think they'd be very suspicious if I stepped foot in China. But that's okay, because I've been there.
Yeah, you already saw what you needed to.
Yes.
Someone says Trump would free you.
I hope so. I hope if I get kidnapped somewhere, he would.
Okay.
Someone wrote Qing Dynasty. How many monitors work in China? What do you mean, like spy monitors? Let's see.
Ah.
Have you tried them? What? No,
Tried
I've never been to North Korea.
Did you see the
I
pictures of
don't
Bin
think
Laden's dead body?
I don't think I did. Oh, this is lots of love.
Yes. Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Your followers are very funny.
Yep, we've got very, very funny followers, and they notice everything. They're very observing. All right. Okay. Chicken.
It's now devolving into just emojis, so. What?
All right. PewDiePie was not banned. All of YouTube is banned. He just makes a joke about it.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Any last words for our viewers?
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for watching and listening to me. And
hopefully we'll get
Appreciate
Kristina back. Okay. So everyone tweet at Kristina at Kristina_Wong. You see it in the title at KRISTINA_WONG. Follow her on Twitter and tweet at her a lot, telling her that you want her to come back. Okay? And one more person says, should we be afraid of Chinese AIs?
Chinese what?
AI.
Oh, artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So,
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
tweet lots. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're on Periscope or Twitch, go over to YouTube and subscribe. And actually, also go over to Twitch and subscribe, because I know there's only like maybe a couple of you there, but I'm going to try and get more of you over there. Thank you, Diacritical. Okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.